My name is Sabrina Summer, and I'm the Equity Specialist for the David Douglas School District.
My name is LaShante Spears, and I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at David Douglas School District. If you remember last year, we had the opportunity to sit down with all of our building principals and have a conversation around our equity stance, or their equity stance. This year, we will continue that same work, but we will focus on having conversations with students, caregivers, and staff. How does equity show up in your building?
This is an opportunity for us to amplify the voice of our students, our staff, and our parents, and we want to hear from them. What's going well, as Tay said, what can we be improving? Where are areas we still need to grow together? And it's exciting to think about the ways that we can continue to grow in this work together as a community and to make that difference for our students and families.
Remember, this work lives within our equity plan and our strategic plan. If you have an opportunity or have additional questions, I would ask that you please locate those things on our district website. You can also reach out to Sabrina or myself at any time. Thank you.
My name is Amy Fennell, and I'm in my 19th year in David Douglas. This year, I'm a third grade teacher.
My name is Omar Lopez. I am a parent here at Gilbert Heights and former employee as well.
So Omar, how connected do you feel at your student school?
I feel very much connected here, especially having the support from the school teachers. You guys make us feel very, very welcomed here. And when my kids come home and they talk about how great their teachers are, it gives me that oomph and it fills my heart with such joy because I didn't have that when I was growing up.
Can you tell me more about that, like with your growing up?
Yeah, so I come from an immigrant family, and then coming here and joining the school system in the States, culture shock.
How old were you?
I was 6 when I came here.
Okay.
And so in elementary school, I didn't know the language, obviously. I didn't know the culture, nothing. And so my parents, being non-English speakers, were not involved in my school at all. Yeah. Even though the school had interpreters, because I went to Alder Elementary.
Okay.
And there, I loved how they taught Spanish to every kid.
Oh, so like dual immersion.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. They taught Spanish to every kid, and I had a lot of my English-speaking friends nowadays, they speak it fluently because they went to that school and they taught him. So, but going back to my parents, they weren't involved at all. They didn't. I felt like they didn't care, but I think it was more for them being also culture shocked and not really being so reserved, coming from a very big Catholic family in Mexico. So
yeah. So how does that affect your kids now? So how do they feel connected in school? Like, do they, you mentioned that they come home and they feel good about it, but that means they're connected to maybe their classroom teacher now, but how does they feel about the school overall? Because they're biracial.
Yeah.
And so that's, they're in a niche that's part of our school community, but do they feel connected to both sides of their culture?
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's always something that their mom and I have always ingrained is to put both of their cultures there and celebrate any events on both sides. They're part Hispanic, part Native. And so in the summer, we go to the powwows and all these Native American festivals, and then we do Dia de los Muertos, and we do Cinco de Mayo festivities. So,
yes, and when we play Loteria in our class, he was like, we do this in our family.
Yes.
And it was super neat to be able to pull that in and have so many students in my classroom be like, oh, we play this with our family and here's how we do it. Yeah. And to be able to use their cultural backgrounds and their experiences from their families made them feel so proud. It was really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Loteria because Alessandra has gotten so good that she doesn't need to put the little we use beans to mark this, like bingo.
Right.
She uses 1 quarter and she moves it because she knows she memorized the card and everything. So I'm like, I'm so proud because I do that.
That's so neat. That is so cool. I love that. Talking about having your kids here, I mean, I know I had your daughter during the pandemic and we did a lot of things on CDL, and that's how we formed our friendship and our relationship. And you were able to come and work with me last year. How well did our school, I guess, help you and your students speak out against racism, or did we?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you do. That's another thing, because during the pandemic, we had all the riots and protests, and we actually talked to our kids about it, and hey, this is what's going on, this is how it's affecting everybody. And we actually took them to some of the protests that were obviously more family friendly.
Right.
And yeah, they were there for it, and they loved it. They loved being a part of it. And I was proud of them for wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah. Do they feel like they can ask questions? I know they can ask questions of you guys. I know that you guys have a very open relationship with those in the dialogue with your kids. Do they feel like with the other adults in their lives, you know, like the school or the community, how does that impact the conversations that they have?
Yeah, I think that here at school, they absolutely can go to any of the adults, not so much outside, because a lot of the adults are very hard-headed and don't want to understand.
Okay.
So I don't feel like they have that much support aside from the immediate family, their mommy, Nana. But yeah, here at the school, I believe that they can go to any adult and talk about any issues that they have.
Okay. All right. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. I did want to ask, how comfortable are you discussing race-related topics with your colleagues?
Well, as the equity facilitator, that's kind of my job on that committee, which is, as a white person, can be very difficult, to be honest, because there's a lot of feelings and there's a lot of steeped history to work through. I feel like every conversation I get better because I hope that I'm willing to listen. This last year, I was able to take a course through the Center for Equity and Inclusion that helped me become a better facilitator and figure out how to stay centered in myself. You know, I'm still a human, and my lid gets flipped, and I have my own beliefs and my passions. But I just really believe that when we seek to listen to understand instead of listening to answer, that opens all the different kinds of doors to go through. And I mean, I think we can only be, you know, better as a whole. And so if I'm willing to listen, I'm hoping that other people are willing to listen. Not to say that we haven't had tough conversations that have not gone well, because we have. And we've had to take our space, but I think that we have a trusting staff that we can come back and have those safe conversations. And you know, we know who we can connect with if we need to have someone to come talk with us. And so I think part of it is knowing what I believe, but also being open to listen.
Yeah, of course.
And so being willing to always listen to different perspectives helps me shape my perspectives, right? So that's something that I try to do with my students as well. We have the conversations, we have the community circles where, you know, we talk about what's going on in the community or in the world. And I, of course, I try not to give my biased opinion, which is really hard at times, because when you feel passionately and you care deeply. But I've tried to put a lot of books in my classroom. I've done some donors choose opportunities and adopt a classroom to be able to pull in books to have the conversations that guide our questions. And so I think just trying to open the lens on every angle. And then also with adults and the children, like if I've caused harm, I need to apologize and I need to work to make that better. And so trying to model that for my kids as well. I don't know that I had that as a child.
Right.
You know, my parents didn't apologize when they maybe should have. And we've had that conversation, but I can try to do different for my kiddos.
Absolutely. And I think it's very important, as you, like you say, like a white person to do that, because when a person of color sees a white person on their side, it makes a big difference. They feel very supported.
Oh, thanks for saying that.
And like you mentioned, my parents as well didn't apologize for anything. So that's something that I have it ingrained in me by myself that I want to change for my kids.
I love that. Yeah. I think the more that we can model how we grow and what we can do to make ourselves better will only help our kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. When you came to work at Gilbert Heights last year, you worked with me in behavior support. So are there some things that you saw there that you would like to talk about through an equity lens?
Yeah, absolutely. I know we had a situation last year about this kiddo that was using some racial slurs. And I kind of wanted to ask you how you brought it up to the parents and how difficult it was to talk to the parents about it.
Yeah.
Because I know the kiddo was a white kid and using some racial slurs.
Yeah, that was a really tough situation. And, it's hard, I think, when you see kids that you care about using hurtful language and it's coming from a place of hurt. But those conversations were really difficult. But I had a relationship with the family and the student. So when I was talking with the family, we initially started talking on the phone. And it was really hard because you don't want to hear, even if you know that it probably is true or possibly true, you don't want to hear it when your student is saying something unkind and we had to kind of have multiple conversations because it was not a one and done. I just had to let them know this is what's happening. This is why we're having the consequences that we did. And we came back and had a meeting in person. They know that their child has those feelings and says those things, but they also don't know how to help. So I think just being able to listen and be heard, I think was really helpful for them. I don't know that we saw. It kind of changed the relationship for a little bit where they didn't want to take my calls or they didn't want to respond. But once they saw, I think that we as a school were still wrapping around the family and not letting them go. We were not going to just write them off. The communication continued. So as hard as it was important. And this was hurting other people. And so this is why we had to have the conversation. When you have a family that needs the support like that, you kind of have to just take yourself out of the situation and kind of just really be that advocate for the student and what's best for them. And it's not about giving excuses. It's not about just wiping it under the rug. It's about this is what I'm hearing your students say. It is not acceptable. It is hurtful. How can I support you? How can I help you? Have those conversations as a family, possibly, and bring people in if we need to, so that perpetuating of harm stops. Because it's very damaging. And but I'm very passionate about relationships with families and students and people. And so when you care deeply, you work hard to support those people. And it didn't solve the problem. It's still an issue. I'm 100% sure. But I know that we have that conduit, that string is still attached, right? We're weaving that tapestry together of relationship and how do we make each other better. And we know it's not going to happen overnight. But also coming back with unconditional regard for that child, no matter what. Right? We are not the worst thing we've ever done, and neither is that student. And so every day having that chance to give them a clean slate, coming at the parents the same way, right? We all say things we shouldn't. I'm not judging the parents, but I want to be a part of the support. I want to be part of the solution to help solve that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that student felt the love that you were trying to give them?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. And I think that in their own way, yes, because they often were the most unkind to me. As you saw time and time again. And I think that we push away what we know will stay, right? We try to push away and see how hard we push if someone will go or not, and I just tell them sorry, you're stuck with me forever. For better, for worse.
Yep, for better, I believe.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've let you know a lot of times how great you are with kids and how lucky my kids are to have you in their life, because the amount of impact that those teachers had on it's ingrained in me. And I truly hope that that happens to my kids with you and their teachers.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that.
But going back to that, I think that parents also need to be a little bit more open to a teacher's help.
Okay.
Because that's what you guys are here for, to help not only the students, but the parents at some point.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's very important for a parent to do, is be more open. Teachers are not here to tell you how to parent, but to be a resource.
Yeah.
That's very important to me. And I'm so glad I have that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.